Yeah, that's fine. You'll just see if you can resist. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. I'm rjellinghaus. I work in OSG, and this is my moonlighting project, which I've been working on for about the last 4 years. For this audience, I think I'm going to start by explaining the hardware first and kind of work from there to the software. This is a C#.NET x64 app running on that little Intel i5 mini PC there, the smallest piece of the rig. And then there's also a USB audio interface, new Xbox Connect, and regular kind of wireless headset. In fact, let me turn the mic. And we start the sound recording. So as I was saying, regular Windows PC here, .NET application, USB audio interface, new Connect, nothing you can't buy off the shelf. And what this is it's watching me and using regular Connect body pose and hand pose detection to kind of tell where my hands are. And the wireless headset is going straight into the USB audio interface and using an ACO stack for as low latency as I can get. And the basic idea is, as I'm talking, you see that red circle on my face. It kind of shows the level, so you can be sure you've got your microphone turned on. I'm trying to get lots of visual feedback everywhere because Connect hand recognition is a little bit flaky. You need to help people see whether they're holding their hand open in the right way. And the new Connect can detect exactly 3 hand poses: open, pointing, and fist. And so I give kind of visual feedback anytime you change hand pose. And the most fundamental gesture is you close your hand, and while you hold your hand closed, it's recording you, and when you let go, it starts looping. Do 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 then you can point out, make your fist. That mutes them. Open your hand while pointing. Unmute them. So you can basically conduct your piece as you create it. So that's a good bunch of interactions, but obviously we all want to do more than that, right? So the question was, well, where do you go with only 3 hand poses? Like you kind of run out of gesture space. So I realized you could combine it with body pose. Let's put my hand on my chest. You have to do that with a stick one. Put my hand on my chest and point. I get kind of a sound effects pop-up menu. I grab it and drag. Now I have kind of a potentiometer that lets me drag out any combination of effects in different directions. And there you can see there's a little noise in the gesture recognition, so I'm dropping some loops unintentionally, but I can actually clean them up pretty well by getting close to things. Everything's very pie menu based, very like touch it and manipulate it, very circular feeling. So there's kind of intended to be no interface on the screen. And the other main area of functionality is you can not only put effects on the loop that you make, but you can also put effects on your microphone itself. So I can start echoing everything I say with a little reverb on it. And then when I record it, it comes out, it comes out, it comes out, with a sound effect, it comes out, with a sound effect, it comes out, with a sound effect, it comes out, which is the interaction you expect. And then the other interaction you get is, I better turn that off. It's hard to think. Put your hand on your head, and you get kind of a system menu that lets you do other kind of high-level effects, you know, like turning off the microphone sound effects or turning up the BPM slightly to like 110. And so it gives you, you know, a variety of options. And so there's kind of a bunch of, oh, Tim, go ahead.
What happens if you grab your crotch?
Nothing happens if you grab your crotch, yet.
No Michael Jackson.
Something could happen if you grab your crotch. Yeah, if you grab it hard enough, it would definitely have a pitch shift effect. That's absolutely true. Right now I have only the 3 places, and it kind of seems pretty heavily loaded as is. So I think I'm just going to put more stuff on the menus now. So now we're at 110 BPM, and I can try dropping a bit more of an actual beat. Now we can start getting weird. Let's clean that up a little bit. So clear the loop effects off of this. And that gets us back to where we were. So you have this kind of ability to experiment with things. And what this is definitely trying to do is overall just trying to be... I put some kind of weird effect on that guy. Overall, what this is trying to do is it's trying to be almost completely... I mean, it's interesting. When I look at an app like Ableton or most kind of DAW software, I see a lot of buttons and sliders and dials. It's kind of like an ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny thing. It's sort of like electronic music all started evolving out of potentiometers and analog synths, and that interface and paradigm has moved into the software. And so what this is kind of trying to do is to get to a place where there's sort of none of that at all. It's also out of my background as a singer, because for singing, you sort of have to be standing up and free to move around to some extent, and sitting down and singing just never works very well, except maybe for like Elton John or Lady Gaga. They have special training. So for me, I have to be able to kind of bop around a little bit, and this kind of interface works better for me than anything else that I've yet found. So that's most of the demo that I have. I'm happy to take questions. Tim?
Have you ever thought about somewhere on your display putting maybe like a 4x4 grid, like for pads? I don't know if you've seen Machine or anything like that.
Right.
Where you could, have a because I think one of the challenges might be, I'm thinking ahead of like how you would do a show with this. One of the challenges is like being able to get everything quantized and everything, but if you had something sort of pre-recorded and you could launch either clips or loops,
right,
and then over that you could dub, I think it would be really interesting.
So what you're suggesting is that you could have sort of a pad that would let you drop in pre-recorded sound effects that were pre-quantized in some way that they would fit properly together. So there's actually 2 aspects to answering that. One of them is that this already quantizes. It rounds up to 1, 2, or multiple of 4 beats. So you kind of have to let go a little bit before you're done singing. It kind of seems like this: 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1. So I let go a little bit before I said 4, but it had already rounded up to 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can't see it right now on your 3, and 4. One aspect of this that is not entirely obvious is that this little mini PC actually has 2 video outputs, and this is actually a 2-monitor app. So what I'm seeing and what you're seeing are actually quite different right now. What I'm seeing looks like this. So what I'm seeing a mirror reflected version of myself, and I'm seeing little kind of indicators under each loop. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that tells you how long it is and where. So that tells you how long 3 and 4. 1. And so you can put things next to it and see how long they've got. 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. So now there's one that's 2 measures and one that's 1 measure. And so you can kind of have some of that interface already. 8. In terms of having sort of pre-recorded sound effects, yes, definitely. There's kind of an infinite feature space around that. I am focusing right now on making it all be completely vocal. This is still, it's not quite performance ready in full capacity, and I'm not entirely sure whether that's because of lack of practice on my part or because there's more performance features needed, but it's never going to be like, it's a different thing than like a DJ set or something where you know it's going to come out exactly the way you intend it. There's chaos inherent in the system with this.
Totally get it. Totally get it. Very cool.
Very cool. So I have 2 questions. One, have you tried it with more than one person so you can interact?
It actually has 2-player support now. So yes, as we play with it tonight, this is going to be available to play with, and we can have 2 people jamming on it already.
The other thing that seems kind of like an obvious thing to me is the XY space doing like a chaos oscillator type thing where you move the head and you change the effects.
He actually has that.
So if you drag the heads around in space.
Oh, right. Yes, so right now there is no way to... Right now, there is no way. Right now, cut that off a little sooner than I wanted. Right now, there is no way to drag a head. Right now, there is no way to drag a head. How can that possibly be? There is no way to drag a head. I don't understand that possibly be. There is no way to drag a head. I don't understand that possibly be. There is no way. Somebody was kind of pointing out that you could kind of do the what is it, Brady Bunch thing? Yeah. So you can do all sorts of like funny art with your face, and the way that it tracks your head is, you know, it's also not. I want that to. It's also not immediately obvious always exactly why this works, but it's also not immediately obvious always exactly why this works. So because it tracks your head, you know, it just sort of shows you this weirdly rotating head. It's like exactly why this works. And when people play with this, actually, you can have a lot of fun with this without any sound at all, which is pretty funny. You just like make lots of little video art, weird video art, weird video art. It's also fully ambidextrous. Weird video art, 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 weird.
I had bad dreams that sound.
It can be very hard to get to sleep after playing with this.
Where do you put them? Does that affect where they are on like your sound stage?
No, there is no sonic significance to placement right now, and that's partly deliberate because one of the aspects of this is, as I'm moving into kind of orchestrating more with this, you sort of want to have, I mean, for example, boom, 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 boom. So now you can kind of control the parts. You're sort of laying out your orchestra. You're sort of laying out your orchestra space. And so because you can kind of group them together and the hand gesture has a certain radius, you can kind of affect a bunch of them at once. Now I want to add things like double pointing to drag out boxes, so you can do group selection and kind of do group effects. But you can also do kind of a fair amount with just that amount of radius touching, 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 So one other aspect of this is that you can mute something. You can make something terrible. You can make something terrible, and then you mute it, and then if you mute it again, it's deleted altogether. So you can kind of mix an entire group of things and then bring them out. Any other questions? We can also start playing with it at any time. I have had people ask me about guitar support or other kind of controller support. Actually, there's one friend of mine. There's one controller support. This is one thing. It gets noisy down here at the bottom, and that is a real problem when demoing. I made lots of little random loops that sampled myself, and I didn't even want it. That's one other thing I learned. I used to have it that putting your hand on your hip did something. Horrible mistake. Horrible mistake, because people need someplace to put their hands because their arms get tired, and so you better have this be the neutral pose.
You better have it be a global mute.
Yeah. And so, I'm sorry, you were... Oh yeah, guitar support. There's a friend in the city who's an excellent guitarist, and he wants it, but it's a very hand-controlled interface. So what do? I have thoughts of, well, maybe if you like are playing and you bring your hand in a big sweep up and then start jamming, it starts recording you, and then if you lift your hand down, it starts playing it back, and like what? Air guitar support. Yeah, that's actually
this, and it could like start, doing the beat rate.
That actually gets back to Tim's question a little bit about having a 4x4 pad of like drum beats or something you could drop in. The gesture latency right now is way too high. So if you notice, actually, my hands are kind of trailing by a significant amount here, and that's actually deliberate. I'm using hand averaging because it lets you do things like there are certain sound effects that have kind of a very smooth parameter space, like, for example, the ring modulator. The ring modulator may be my favorite. 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 Modulator may be my favorite. The ring modulator may be my favorite. The ring modulator may be my favorite. The ring modulator may be my favorite. So you can see that there's kind of a bunch of ring modulator. There's a bunch of sort of fine, variations in there, and so having a lot of smoothing in the hand position means that you can move smoothly through that parameter space to kind of get it to sound exactly like you want, and then let go of it, and it doesn't hop to somewhere else. So there's some deliberate to that. The other thing that is interesting, this is as much fun and as sophisticated as this is also obviously pushing the limits of what the original Connect can do. I mean, their hand pose in the current Connect is amazing that it works as well as it does and is as CPU light as it is, but as you can see, it's also a bit noisy. I've carefully learned over the years to keep my hands out to the sides because it sees them best that way. You don't want to be wearing something with long sleeves because it will confuse it. HoloLens is going to be great to try this with. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but nobody will tell me what the audio latency in the HoloLens hardware stack is. I don't even know if they know, because end-to-end audio latency is the single most critical parameter in this entire project. I started it 3 years ago. I was demoing a very early version, and I had my ASIO buffer size set wrong, to like 512 samples instead of 128 at 44.1 kilohertz. It's like 20 milliseconds of extra latency, and the person I was playing with a looper, and she started recording herself, and she was trying to make herself line up well, like do 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 So that's off a little bit. It's very hard to get it perfect, but she was able to detect immediately that it was even worse than that, and she couldn't even play. She couldn't play with it at all. She's like, "This is so laggy, I can't handle it." And I fixed it. I changed it by a tiny number of milliseconds. I think to 7 milliseconds I shortened it by, and it was great for her. So audio latency is completely non-negotiable with this particular experience, and that might be a deal breaker for HoloLens. I hope not. If you know anybody on the HoloLens team, and you can put a B in there, whatever, about audio latency, it would be great.
Audio latency is also very critical there.
It is. But end-to-end audio latency, maybe or maybe not. So we'll have to see. I hope it is. Other questions?
you draw any inspiration from the artist Beauty Man?
Yes. In fact, I showed Beauty Man the first version of this 3 years ago. And I've continued to be in touch with him about it, and he actually helped set me up. He pointed me in the direction of the VST sound plugin that I'm using. Is actually the same one that he uses in his rig. And we've become friends, and I chatted with him after his show, and so it's been great for that alone. He was definitely, but yeah, without him this would not exist. He was absolutely 100%.
So you can integrate
Beauty Man,
VSTs.
aka Darren Foreman in the UK.
No, I'm sorry, I know what it is. You can integrate VSTs with this?
Yes, this actually has VST plugin support right now. That's where most of the effects you're hearing are coming from.
What plugins are you running?
Tornado, the Sugar Bytes Tornado. Yeah, that's the one that Beauty Man uses because it has 8 effects in one and it's super CPU efficient. And you can, I think I could probably. I don't know exactly the current limit right now that I start topping out the CPU at. Let me show you the CPU monitor as I try this little performance test. One little performance test right here on your screen. Let's see how many little performance tests right here on your screen. How many let's see we can do this. Let's see. I don't know how we can do this many songs. I don't know how we can do So, alright, I can see that got this many songs. That got a little out of hand, so let me try it without quite so much sound to it. Well, that's about 70% CPU with 20 running at 15 frames per second. They're all I haven't dug into it enough yet to know whether this is audio or video. That's the bottleneck. So I haven't. But ultimately, it would be possible to get more than this because one of the things that one of the insights that kind of helped a lot with this was realizing how insanely cheap RAM is now. It's like, okay, how much uncompressed video can you hold in 4 gigabytes of RAM? You know, up there, up there is the amount of video RAM that's actually allocated and currently used, and you can't even come close to putting a dent in it. So. I had to make it an x64 app. It's too big for a 2 gig heap, especially on .NET. But with x64, it's just, memory is certainly not the issue. Memory bandwidth may be the issue. Yes.
Can you duplicate one sample, like sing one sample, duplicate it, and shift it like by 1 octave and have them in sync?
Right now there is not. Let's see. The closest thing I can do to that is record myself twice at once. I can record 2 of me simultaneously. I can record 2 of me simultaneously. And then I can do it to one of them. I can record 2 of me simultaneously. 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 Yeah. I can record. So you can do that simultaneously. One thing that I want to try is I want to put in time offset adjustment so that you can do the famous, a Mobius strip, a twist in the fabric of space, where time becomes a loop. Actually, I should probably just start with that. Where time becomes a loop. Where time becomes a loop. Where time becomes a loop. Oh, nice. Where time becomes a loop. And so then, take one of them and start shifting the time offset. Where time becomes a loop. You get the exact little thing. But I haven't done it yet. Right now, I'm at actually, things are moving very fast with this. I was blocked for much of the last year for various weird low-level CX64 music before now and before music. One of the features I really want to do in the near term is do as much fun as the little video loops are. They also, some people like them and some people don't, and they are kind of like an ego frenzy sort of interface. So I want to do something that is sound-based, and the interface I'm thinking of is a rotating spectrogram with like like red in the middle, or red nearest the center, and purple at the outside map to low to high frequency. So you have kind of this rainbow loop rotating around that actually shows you the frequency breakdown of your loop itself. So you've got some sonically based visuals. That I think will add a lot of sort of visual interest.
There's an iPhone app called Loopies. Have you seen that?
I have seen various iPhone and other apps on
That's very
TCs.
similar to what you were just describing, with a little thing that goes around and you can pick it up like a steering wheel and then do time offsets.
Right. And so one thing that I really hope is that if HoloLens has much lower gesture latency and is much more gesture sensitive, then you can start doing things like that. You can have a three-dimensional sound loop that's rotating around and you can grab it in midair and scratch it back and forth. And so this entire paradigm should map to HoloLens very well.
I was also thinking if you could do like kind of trippatronics things where they sort of fade away over time, like maybe they're kind of balloons going up and you can pull it back down and stuff.
Right. Yeah, in fact, there's all, I mean, I've been contemplating things like, you know, grabbing a copy of your head and singing something and throw it around the room, and it starts bouncing around the room. Then you have like a three-dimensional surround sound physics environment. You can see that Holofunk likes that idea.
Can you use this to convince the Xbox team to run the CLR on the Xbox One so you can ship this?
I don't know if I can use this to convince the Xbox team of anything. But the audio latency on the Xbox One is the big showstopper for me. At least anecdotally, I've heard it's around 50 to 60 milliseconds. So that's not. And also there's various kind of analog, you know, signal chain issues, and trying to do noise removal on the Xbox One or the Xbox in general adds a ton of CPU time, but you have to do it if you're using the Xbox One microphone. So that's where I'm kind of taking a shortcut around this with a wireless headset.
Didn't I tell you about the secret developer menu? You can open it, it's like a context menu if you do a backflip.
Wait, I'm sorry.
There's a secret context menu that you can open the developer menu if you do a backflip.
Interesting.
You should try it out.
I might try that.
It's a potentially fatal Easter egg.
Nice.
But they don't want to make it too easy.
That's, yeah, I try not to destroy my Xbox hardware generally. Any other questions? If not, we can all, I don't know, how do you guys usually, oh yeah, go ahead.
Is there any way to turn the blinking thing off?
Yes, I can turn the blinking thing off. That, basically, that's trying to show the tempo. And so it's turned down considerably from what it used to be. It used to be even lower. There's a million visual adjustments, gestural adjustments, sonic adjustments, features in general. It's like and I've been working on it for 4 years and I've just barely gotten started.
You might want to just put like a little metronome in the corner because that's going to give somebody a seizure.
Well, that's actually that's what this is doing down here. But it may be a little too subtle, you know. But that's basically your 4/4 metronome.
Electric sheep, like the visualizers, they are like they can Windows, this electric sheep visualizer, like super.
Yeah, I mean, there's an insane amount I mean, we could absolutely be running a whole, you could totally be running a whole 3D visualizer stack in the background, yes. There's no reason why not, except just pure lack of lighting bandwidth.
What's next up for you? I mean, what are the next couple of things?
What I really want most now is alpha testing. That's the thing that I don't actually have yet. I need anyone with, you know, ACO compliant drivers for their whatever their audio input is, and a new Connect. Those are the two things you need, and a reasonably fast Windows PC. That's all you need. I think a number of us probably have that stuff, probably more people in this room or near this room than anyone else in the world. So I'm very hopeful, but basically I want to, what I really want I think is user feedback. I would like to start selling this at some point, and right now I'm so trained to it, I'm massively over, you know, compensating for the many things wrong with this, so I want to kind of make it more approachable, I guess is my number one goal. Aside from that, I want to add more visual interest, you know, add something in the background other than a flickering, other than a face, other than a playground, other than a playground, other than a, that's not good, other than a playground, 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 other than a, I think I'm just going to go with it, playground, other than a 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 playground, other
So let's say you were improvising, you've got something so insanely great that it's going to be, how do you get all the parts out?
Actually, the only thing I have for that right now is wave recording built in. It actually is recording this on the SSD. But
it records it as one track?
It's recording the mixed output that goes to the amplifier, so yeah. It could record everything as separate loops, so that becomes an entire separate file format, conversation, interrupt with DAWs. I have had people ask me, why can't you take something you improvised and make it, the basis of a track? Simply for two reasons: lack of time and distraction from focus. I really want this to be kind of purely improvisational and push the improvisational aspect as far as I can, push the live aspect. But yes, there certainly is plenty of room for this type of interface to feed in very nicely into a more constructed, deliberate, externalized. This is something where you're controlling what's happening. All other DAWs, you're controlling some time space that's outside of you, or outside of real time.
And have you tried using like an avatar instead of a video of yourself?
I have not tried using an avatar. One idea that people did have was and I think I've already told you this, is to make it kind of a bobblehead interface so that you record your little head. You record your little head, and under it, your little body, little head, and you record your little head, and under it, so like under that there would be like a stick-figure body and body joints, your little head, and being animated. You record your little head, then that could be actually a lot of fun as well, but it kind of doubles down on the showing you a representation of your body as a primary visual, and I'm not sure that's actually what's best in some sense. So I'm thinking that actually you should have like sonic visuals in your faces, like fading in and out. You could have different regions of the screen doing it differently, different loops doing it differently, or just make it purely trippy for the audience, self-driving.
Can you use a regular Xbox One connector?
Right now there is no such thing as, this is the only kind of connect there is. This is actually something I beat on them about last year. They were going to do like with the original PC version where they had the original Xbox version where they had one for the Xbox and one for the PC, and I was like, why are you doing this? Why? Anyone with an Xbox One could try my thing out if you just make a dongle, and so they did. They made a dongle, and now you so you spend $40 or so, and you can connect your Xbox One PC, and then you can use it. So anyone with an Xbox One and the DAW setup at home can totally output this today. For like $40 more than Xbox dongle. This may be the only thing you will do with that Xbox dongle on your PC, because I'm kind of dumbfounded that this is a lot of fun. This is really a true gestural manipulation minority recording interface based on headphones with the current connector. I don't know why more people aren't already doing this, because it's clearly possible. And I am just noodling away in my bedroom after my kids have gone to sleep, so I don't have really the bandwidth to do everything that could and should be done with this. So one thing that I am most hoping is that people will see this and be like, wow, we can do that? Okay, let's do a lot more of that right now. Any other questions from anybody before we start playing with it?
You signed up for the hackathon to present this and try and recruit a team?
I am happy to present this at the hackathon, but it's not actually a hack per se, because all the hacks get owned by Microsoft. That's why I'm keeping this an exciting thing, mainly because I need to be able to do or not do whatever with it that my life allows at the moment. So if it became like a one-week thing and then got picked up, then I would sort of, there would be a lot of other people involved in what this is at that point, and I'm not sure I want that quite yet. But I would, if they were talking about getting DJs for 1 week, that's the thing. This is a little bit more demoable than performable still, so I need to work more on performing with it. But at the Mini Maker Fair and the Decibel Festival this year, I hope to basically do a launch. So if I can get alpha testers and I can get some more beta features in this summer, then I'd like to do some kind of early access thing in October, so using those events as a kind of launch pad. Thank you very much. Anybody who wants to play with it, come on up. And also, I don't know, what do you guys usually do now? Do you you just start jamming